Hello and welcome to all Top 5s. When people hear the word Celtic, they often associate it just with Ireland. However, the Celts were much more widely spread than that, covering all corners of the British Isles and way down into mainland Europe. Their mythology was full of amazing creatures and enrapturing stories, passed down through the generations. Number 5. Joint Eater. One of the many different types of fairy, the joint eater was also known as the just halver and originated in Ireland. It was believed to be a greedy and evil fairy who could become invisible and plagued humans. When visible, they took the form of a newt. If a person fell asleep by the water, a joint eater would crawl into their mouth and eat half the food its victim consumed. As such, the person chosen by the joint eater would never grow fat and remain hungry despite eating large meals. One story tells of a man haunted by a joint eater who was starving to death because of his parasite. He ate vast quantities of salty meat, then lay down with his mouth open just next to a stream. The joint eater, and all of her offspring, leapt out of the man's mouth to drink, as all the salty meat had made them incredibly thirsty. The man walked away free, and much the wiser for it. Number 4. Bergame. A Celtic mythological creature from the Isle of Man, the Bergame was an enormous creature like an ogre. It could change its appearance like a shapeshifter, but its natural form was believed to be raggedly dark-haired, with glowing eyes like torches and sharp glittering tusks. These magical Bergames generally lived in caves and couldn't cross water or stand on hallowed land. The legendary Finn MacCool, mythical hunter in Celtic mythology, once visited the Isle of Man. There was a resident Bergame who came to fight him, but Finn didn't want to battle. Instead, Finn's wife disguised him as a baby in a cradle. When the Bergames saw the size of this apparent baby in its cradle, it assumed that the father, Finn, must be of a monstrous size, a giant amongst giants, and it ran off. Eventually though, the two fought, and Finn had to retreat across the sea back to Ireland. He could run on water, by the way. The Bergame, who couldn't follow, pulled out and threw one of his teeth at Finn MacCool. It bounced off his head and fell into the sea, becoming what is now known as Chicken Rock today. Finn cursed this tooth. "My 7 swearings of a curse on it. Let it lie there for a vexation to the sons of men." For years, that Bergame tooth, Chicken Rock, has proved hazardous to sailors, hinting that Finn's curse might still live on. Number 3. Ivanka. From the Blue Lakes of Wales comes a mythological creature known as the Ivanka. It's a monster that resides in one of several different lakes, depending on the story, including one that was actually named Llyn yr Ifanc in honour of the creature. The Ivanka is believed to be a demonic, dwarf-like sea monster, something between a crocodile and a beaver, who devoured those who swam or fell into its lake. One story tells of a young man called Peredur who insisted on killing the Ivanka for honour and glory. The Ivanka in the lake was said to have slain the king's 3 sons day after day, who were then resurrected each evening. Peredur accompanied these 3 princes to hunt it. A maiden they passed on their journey to the lake informed Peredur that the Ivanka was invisible and would shoot poison darts at him, taking his life. This maiden, who turned out later to be the Queen of Constantinople, gave Peredur an adder stone that would reveal the creature to his eyes if he looked through it. He shot on ahead and revealed and killed the Ivanka by beheading it before it had a chance to strike. The 3 princes then told him it had been proclaimed that Peredur would kill the Ivanka, and he had fulfilled the prophecy and saved them from eternal slaughter. Number 2. Ben Nia. The Ben Nia was a mythological fairy from Scotland who was a death omen and carried messages from the other world, realm of the dead. She was considered similar to a banshee. Ben Nia meant washerwoman, and as such they dwelt near old streams where they used to wash blood from the clothes of people who were soon for the grave. It's believed they originated from the departed spirits of women who died during childbirth, and they would live their life as a Ben Nia for years until the day they would have died a natural death. This washerwoman was sometimes described as having one nostril, one large vicious tooth, webbed feet, and sagging skin and breasts dressed all in green. If a person snuck up on a Ben Near and suckled at her breast, he could convince her that he was her foster child and gain one wish that she would grant. The Ben Near could also be persuaded to tell a person who was going to die, as she would be washing their clothes in the stream before it happened. One could also attain knowledge from her with any 3 questions, as long as he answered her 3 questions first. Although she was seen generally as an old hag, the Ben Near could on occasion transform into a beautiful young woman, like the Banshee, to suit her dark purposes. Number 1. The Salmon of Knowledge. I covered a little of the Salmon of Knowledge in my Irish folklore video. This Salmon of Knowledge, or more simply the Big Fish or Fintan, is a creature who was the source of much wisdom. It started life as a regular salmon, who happened to eat 9 hazelnuts that fell into the well of wisdom from the 9 different hazel trees there. This salmon was gifted with all the knowledge of the world and was magical from there on. Because it would impart all of its worldly wisdom to whomever ate its flesh, a poet called Finnegas dedicated 7 years of his life to attempting to fish it up. One day he successfully caught it and gave it to his servant, none other than the Finn McCool, to cook it for him with strict instructions not to eat it. Of course, Finnegas's warning went wrong. Finn burned his finger while cooking the Salmon of Knowledge and stuck it in his mouth to soothe it. Finn's finger was covered in the Salmon of Knowledge's fat, and in putting it in his mouth, he gained some of Fintan's knowledge. Finnegas noticed this and instructed Finn to consume the rest of the Salmon of Knowledge, giving him all the wisdom in the whole world. It was debated whether Fintan the Salmon of Knowledge was simply a common fish to begin with, or if he was one of the immortals in salmon form who could continue to live even after being eaten. Either way, for one hazelnut-loving salmon, Fintan was one of the most legendary creatures of Celtic mythology of all time. And that's it from All Top 5s for this week. Please remember to be civil when posting comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. You can hit the support button to support All Top 5s on Patreon, or you could hit the subscribe button for notifications of all my new videos. So peace and love to each and every one of you, and I'll see you all next time on All Top 5s.